What is going on, you guys? It is your boy Culture Shock. We are back with another video, the Blue Stable Podcast. We are here to talk about some breaking news, and boy, oh boy, it's going to be interesting because we got a lot on the plate here, and we got a lot to discuss. We got the Week 8 recap, but we got to talk about the topic of the discussion, of course, and that is the bear of bad news. Of course, this just broke earlier today, but first, I got to ask my guy Landon. Landon, how we doing?
Um, we're doing right. Man, what a day! What a day! What a past 36 hours, right? Like from the moment we ended the last show, it just seems like all hell's kind of broken loose. Here we are again. So, yeah, I'm ready to get into it. It's gonna be a very I don't know if it'll be like a very long show, but it's gonna be a very interesting show. And I'm curious of your thoughts on everything because you are literally, like I've said, normally you're like the best of us, right? Like you are the most single positive person in the world. No matter what happens, you are extremely positive. And I'm literally like I'm not that. So I am like very curious to hear your thoughts on all this that's transpired. I'll give my thoughts on it, and we'll just go from there.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate that too. Well, I don't know about today. I might have mixed feelings because today was crazy. But of course, we got to get it started. We got to talk about the topic of the discussion. Anthony Richardson, as per reports earlier today, has been benched going into Week 9 versus the Minnesota Vikings, which is a primetime game. So this is very interesting moving forward. Of course, we kind of speculated this in the past with the recent comments after last week's performance and post game interview. Of course, Ryan Kelly spoke about it. Coach Shane Steichen spoke about it. And today's news dropped that Joe Flacco is going to be starting going into this week against the Vikings. And of course, a lot of people speculated maybe it was the issue with him walking off the field, mentioning he was tired. But Shane Steichen was asked this question and it said it had to do with the performance. So of course, this is mixed feelings because if we go back to the draft, when they got the guy, they talk about how he can develop during game time and his performances. But I guess everything has changed from that point. I do have mixed feelings of why this is a thing. Of course, we've seen this with other organizations with quarterbacks that they draft and they have poor performances and then they wind up benching him and they don't really get the reps that they need. But with Anthony Richardson, it's completely different because you know how raw of a talent he was coming into the draft and how unexperienced he was. And then you mentioned how he was supposed to be developing through that. And now you just changed the guards. So I'm going to start with you. What is your thoughts about the whole benching situation?
Well, frankly, and I told you before the show started, I was going to do my best not to curse on here and all that, but look, it's bullshit, right? I mean, it just is. It's BS. It basically undermines everything that this organization, that this regime, the coaching staff, um, it undermines everything they've said from day one when they drafted the kid, which is, we know he's raw. We know there's going to be growing pains, but we have to, stay patient. We have to get him the reps. We have to do all this and all this, blah, blah, blah. And then, look, dude, like we're 10 games into this now, and they've pulled the rug out from under him, and they're completely changing course. And it's to me, it's an abject disaster. Like this is the one thing you couldn't do, right? Like if you wanted to compete, if you wanted to compete for the playoffs, if you wanted to make a push with a competitive roster, you did not need to draft Anthony Richardson. He was not the guy. If they wanted to compete from day one with this roster, you should have made the move up to go trade for CJ Stroud that the Carolina Panthers made for the number one overall pick. You should have traded up for Stroud, or you should have taken Will Levis, because Will Levis, regardless of his struggles down in Tennessee, he was more pro ready. Richardson, not even just in this draft, maybe in every draft, going all the way back to when the draft first started, was probably the single most raw prospect outside of Trey Lance, maybe that has ever been draft eligible. And you took him in the top 5. You took him in the top 4. You picked him 4th overall in that draft. And that signified, you brought in Shane Steichen because of his ability to develop quarterbacks, the work he did with Justin Herbert in San Diego at the time, the work he did with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. You brought this guy in to mentor and build up this young, raw developmental prospect. And that's just like, if you wanted to compete this soon, it's just a bad move. Like, you shouldn't have done it. And it's really just an abject failure. It's an organizational failure from the top down to 10 games in to his career. And I get that it's year 2 at this point with the injuries and all that, but he's healthy. And the whole thing that they've said from day one is, if he's healthy, he is our starting quarterback. He needs the reps. We need to develop him. And whenever you faced adversity, this is the first true test, right? After last week with the Tapout gate, hashtag Tapout gate, I've trademarked that. With that situation, with the completion percentage, with all these other metrics, it felt like the lowest point, right, in the Anthony Richardson saga the last 36 hours have. And what do you do? They fold, right? You fold, you give up. You put him on the bench for a 39. This guy's going to be 40 years old in 2 months. 40. And this is the exact same cycle that we have preached and preached and preached about wanting to get off of. Is this 40-year-old, 9-8, 10 wins, getting shit canned in the wild card round. Like, you're not competitive. Are they going to be a more efficient offense? Are they going to have a better chance to win games right now with Joe Flacco? I think the answer to that is yes. I do. Some people don't, because this whole look at how great Joe Flacco looked. Yes, 75% of his snaps came against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, right? Pretty sure Richardson probably would have looked a little bit better in that too, because Richardson has been facing top 10 passing defenses. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the worst. So, I mean, that factors into it, right? But it's so short-sighted. And it's the same BS that we've been through the last 5 years, from the moment 12 walked out of that door 2 weeks before the season started. We are right back on the same damn path. And now you're going to go into 2025, and you're still not going to know who your franchise quarterback is. You're not going to know what Anthony Richardson has learned, what he gives you. Because that's the whole other part of this is, yeah, it sounds great on paper to just sit back and learn and do all that. And I agree. He's got a lot of growing up to do. He's got a lot of learning to do. He does. If anything showed you, it was this week, right? Of how much he has to learn about being a quarterback in the NFL. He's got a lot of growing up to do. He's 22 years old. And for them to pull this kind of a move, if it did in fact come from Shane Steichen and or Chris Ballard, it is extremely, extremely short-sighted. It gets you nowhere for the future, and it's an organizational failure to the highest level. And if it didn't come from either one of those two, and it came up from a much higher source, then we have a much, much, much bigger problem on our hands as a franchise. And that's just where we're at. So, yeah, it's extremely frustrating. It sucks for the fan base. It sucks for Richardson. It sucks for the kid. I get that, like I said, Joe Flacco does likely make you more competitive in 2024. But if you wanted to compete in 2024, you shouldn't have drafted Anthony Richardson. You just shouldn't have done it. It was stupid. And I think that if outside of a AFC championship game appearance, Super Bowl, anything like that, outside of that, if they do decide to stick with Joe Flacco the rest of this year, and this isn't just like a one game thing as punishment, which they have also come out and said to the media, they told Stephen Holder, they told James Boyd, they told Nate Atkins, they told all the local media, they said this is not a reaction to the tap out thing, right? They've made that very clear. And I don't believe that one bit. I don't buy it. But if that is the message you're sending out, and this is strictly due to on-field performance, this is a failure. And this is stupid and it's short-sighted and gets you nowhere for the future. And like I said, outside of an AFC championship game appearance, a Super Bowl appearance, a division, you come back and win the AFC South somehow, even though you're 1-3 in the AFC South right now. Outside of that stuff happening, everybody involved in drafting and developing Anthony Richardson needs to have their bags packed at the end of the season, and we need to completely reset this entire franchise.
I agree. Shout out to Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed just tweeted a few hours ago. He said NFL owners have zero patience or interest in quarterback development. Hopefully NIL continues to help in the future. I mean, that's a bar.
He's 100% correct. And look, I get it, right? The NFL, and this is something that was told to me years ago. The NFL is not a developmental league. It is not. It is a results-based business that is built on winning football games. That is all well and true. And if that is the case, and if that is what they believe, and their actions today show that that's what they believe, right? If that is what they believe, then drafting Anthony Richardson 4th overall was complete negligence on where they are at. If you wanted that kind of developmental prospect and you wanted him to sit and wait, they should have done the Jordan Love thing, right? They should have kept on the veteran carousel. He shouldn't have even touched the field for 2 to 3 years. And then maybe, next season he gets on the field. There were better ways to do this if this is what your end goal was. But to throw him out there and constantly, just keep telling everybody, like, this is our quarterback. This is the guy. He needs reps. He needs this. And then the minute that shit gets tight and it doesn't start going your way and it's not looking good, to pull the rug out from under him and throw him back on the bench. I've tweeted this out multiple times today, and I think even Joel Erickson did an article that it was listed at that he posted about an hour ago. But I've been tweeting this out since this morning. If you look back in history, right, which is all we have to go on, is what has happened in the NFL. If you look back in history, the quarterbacks that have been benched mid-season, young guys, right, that have been benched mid-season into their rookie deal or contracts and have had success with the franchise that have drafted them. There are 3 names on that list, and one of them has a huge caveat. The 3 names are Tua, who Brian Flores got fired. They had to hire a whole brand new coach to come in and develop him after the benching took place. Shane Steichen's probably not getting fired, right? So that ship sailed. But the other 2 names on that list, Alex Smith with the 49ers and Rex Grossman with the Chicago Bears. And Rex Grossman has a caveat because he wasn't even really that good. The defense and the team around him was just phenomenal, and they made the Super Bowl. And then they moved off of him, like literally a year or 2 later. Like they made the move for Jay Cutler because he didn't work out. And that's it. That's the list. All these other guys that have been thrown out to me today in my comment section of, well, look at what it did for Sam Darnold when he sat. Look at what it did for Geno Smith when he sat. Are those guys with the teams that drafted them? No. The New York Jets are not reaping the benefits of Sam Darnold's resurgence this year. The New York Jets are not reaping the benefits of Geno Smith's resurgence this year. The Cleveland Browns are not reaping the benefits of Baker Mayfield's resurgence the last couple years, right? All those guys are on completely new teams. And if that's the route you want to go, then history tells us we're going to set and we're going to look back here in 4 years. Anthony Richardson's 26 years old and he's tearing this league up in a new uniform. And the Colts are still stuck in purgatory, exactly like the Cleveland Browns, exactly like the New York Jets. Those are the franchises you're in the conversation with right now. Look at the Carolina Panthers. It's the exact same thing with the Carolina Panthers, right? Right now, the Colts, while they do have more talent, they are better than the Panthers record-wise. This is the type of decision that a franchise like the Carolina Panthers makes, and it's a snapshot decision based on short-sighted results. And that is the conversation you are putting yourself in when you name those type of players. That's truly it. You're putting yourself in the conversation with the Cleveland Browns, with the New York Jets, with the Carolina Panthers. And I'm sorry, those are not models and teams that I want to replicate. They're not. And it's an abject disaster. If you can't draft the developmental raw prospect that needs reps and then not continue to stick with the developmental quarterback prospect that needs reps. That's just not how it works. And if if you weren't going to stick with that plan and you wanted immediate results, then you should have made the move for Stroud. You should have taken Levis. Hell, you probably could have drafted Bryce Young. He probably would have worked out a little bit better here than he did in Carolina, right? Hendon Hooker, he was more NFL ready. If you wanted a more pro ready guy, Richardson probably should have been the last guy on your board. And what did we hear after the draft? He was our guy. If we had the number one overall pick, that's the guy we would have taken. Well, guess what? Actions speak louder than words. And you can put all this stuff out in the media, and you can sit here and you can tell everybody it's not about the tap out and it's about the on-field performance. And he was our guy, and he's our quarterback when he's healthy, and all this. Actions don't Actions speak louder than words. And that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I feel like everything they said has pretty much been a lie at this point, which is totally a professional move. A coach, you just throw something out there to get
Well,
the
it's on
fans stirred up.
brand, right? It's
Yeah,
completely on brand for this franchise since the moment Peyton Manning got cut. They've never been upfront about anything. Every year that's what they tell. They just this is the team for the Super Bowl. I have such high hopes. This player is not really injured. This guy's going to be completely okay to start the season. Like they just feed the fans just loads and loads of just bullshit. And we buy into it every single year. And we get so excited every single training camp. And we show up in July, and this fan base completely, like, they're one of the top sellout arenas in the NFL. Like Colts fans show up. They show up. They showed up for that Houston game. Even down in Houston last week, there were a lot of Colts fans that they travel well, they show up because they buy into this stuff that we're sold every single year. And it's like, I told this earlier, it's like they did it with Manning, they did it with Luck. Now they're doing it with Richardson. It's the same thing. Is when the going gets tough, the Colts get going. They don't stick it out. And that's just it's frustrating. It's super frustrating. Not only is somebody that covers this team, right? Because we have to get it. Like, other fans can voice their displeasure, but like we have to show up, right? Like you're on, like Marcus, you're on the media calls. We're going to the Senior Bowl. We're going to the NFL draft. We have to cover and we have to talk about this team 2 to 3 times a week. You think I like coming on here and doing this? I mean, it's great for views, right? Negativity gets views. It's good for content. I don't like doing this, man. I'm sick of it. Like the team that I grew up with as a teenager and as a college kid with, Peyton Manning and like that stuff. Those days are long gone, dude. Like, I would love to get on here and talk about how the Colts have won the AFC South by week 8 and how we're on track to be the number 1 seed overall again, or how we just won a Super Bowl, or like I'd be okay with you. We just lost the Super Bowl. Like, shit, dude, I'd be okay with talking about losing a Super Bowl. At least you're in the Super Bowl, right? Like, at least you have this sustained success. And we don't get to talk about that. we have to come on here 2 or 3 times a week and talk about this shit. And like, excuse my language, like I really am sorry. I'm not meaning to curse or anything, but it's just like it's just passionate, I guess, is like how I'm coming across. It sucks, dude. It sucks a lot.
Yeah, I agree. It's insane. And then you think about the mental state of Anthony Richardson. You know, him having his chance. Of course, he makes mistakes, but he learns throughout the process. And you can even mention the Texans game. He came out really rusty, but he started to pick it up towards the end of the second half to the fourth to still give us a chance to win the game. No matter how bad he performed, we still had a shot to win. And that's the team you have around you. And this the roster. No matter how bad it may
Well,
look to other people, we still had a chance.
well, here's the other like part of that too is like you preach accountability, right? Like this is what this whole thing's about. You know, where he's going to be held accountable for his play on the field. Did we watch a different game on Sunday? Did I just see him completely mishandle every situation in front of him? No. I didn't. Maybe the Colts did, and Shane Steichen and them are way smarter than I am, so maybe I just don't know what the hell I'm watching. But I don't know how you can really watch that game and sit back and say, like, this is the guy we're going to hold accountable for why we failed this week. Whenever you have the offensive line no showed.
One of the
Wide
worst performances.
Yeah, literally the worst performance of the year. Statistically and analytically, the worst performance of the year for the offensive line. The wide receivers. Can anybody outside of Josh Downs make a play? Can you can you make a play for your quarterback that's struggling to complete passes, even though these balls are on target, right? They're on target, and it makes no sense to me because I sat there and I watched Michael Pittman Jr. go up and moss L'Jarius Sneed whenever Joe Flacco's in at quarterback, and then you can't go get the ball for Anthony Richardson. That like those aren't badly thrown balls. Those balls are on target. Those balls hit you in the hands and they just fall incomplete. So like what is it? Like I mean, outside of Jonathan Taylor and Josh Downs, if we're holding Anthony Richardson accountable, where's the accountability for anybody else? Are you benching Quentin Nelson after that performance? No. He was horrendous this week. 3 false start penalties took them out of multiple scoring situations. Michael Pittman Jr. As much as I love Pittman, I've said it many times, he's probably my favorite player on this team. Offensive pass interference took away a touchdown for Anthony Richardson. He had multiple drop passes. I mean, like, why is the 22-year-old raw kid the guy that we're holding accountable and not these guys that are making 70, $100 million a year that aren't paying up the standard, right? If you're going to hold that guy accountable, hold everybody accountable. The play calling with Shane Steichen, is he giving up play calling duties? No, no, he's not. So why are you not being held? Like, why are you not holding yourself accountable for the play calling that has just so completely you like the it just blows my mind that like this is the kid that we drafted and we committed to develop, but yet he's the one we're going to hold accountable and we're going to blame it all on him and we're going to throw him on the bench. Now we can get in, and I'm sure we will, to the Tapout stuff, and like I have very strong thoughts on that. Um, and it should have been, and it needs to be, and hopefully it will be a huge learning moment. But man, like this is a completely like if you're gonna say, I would have honestly respected it more if they would have come out today and said, yes, we are benching him due to the comments and the actions in the game with the tapping out. I can understand that. I can completely understand that. But whenever you go out of your way to let every media member know that the tap out thing had nothing to do with the benching and that per the comments, it was strictly due to on-field performance, that's asinine. It's completely like it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
I agree. I agree. Um, and I was also thinking when you was mentioning the play calling, it's amazing how we've seen most things changed in the second half, and it looked more comfortable for Anthony Richardson, like the motions, the toss outs, the
The
pitches,
quarterback run game.
all of that, all of that in the second half to fit Anthony Richardson's play style. It's like we just waited so late. If you could have just did that in the first half, we wouldn't have any of this discussion. Honestly, I don't know. I feel
I
like
mean, look,
maybe
and
it's a
this,
setup.
yeah, and this isn't to excuse the bad play, right? Because by any metric you pull up, like Anthony Richardson has not been good, but we knew that. Like you knew this when you drafted him. Like, and if you didn't, I'm sorry. Like, if you didn't, then you're either naive or you're an idiot. If you didn't think that the kid that had started 13 games since he was in high school was going to come into the NFL and not struggle, I don't have anything to tell you at that point. He was always going to struggle. Like this is what it was going to look like. This is always what it was going to look like early on. It was going to be ugly. You were going to have these just horrendous games. But whenever I keep seeing people say, like, well, he's not showing any growth, I don't see. Did we not see how on target some of these throws were last week? Like, look at the throw to Tyler Goodson. Yeah, could it have been 5 inches more in front of him? It still hit him in the hands. That's a touchdown. Like, he had 3 touchdowns that were either dropped or called back. Adonai Mitchell. We heard how great this kid was going to be. And he's a kid. Like, he's young. Dropped a touchdown, or didn't drop it, but couldn't get his feet down in the end zone. That was a dime, bro. Like, you cannot throw that ball any better. The throw to Alec Pierce on the Michael Pittman Jr. OPI, where he shrugs off these guys and he's on the run and he's making plays and he makes a touchdown. Called back. Like, he had literally, like, I went back, right, and I watched the film yesterday before all this stuff because I just wanted to know. And do I think this was like a banner day, right, for an NFL quarterback? No, it's not. But you can see the growth. If he just would have had 6 of those 8 catches that hit these guys in the hands made, you're probably adding on what, like 150 plus yards and 3 touchdowns to that stat line. And this looks completely different. And those were plays that other guys did not make.
And take back the flags from Quentin Nelson.
Yeah. And to hold him solely accountable for that is just negligence, and it's stupid. And if you thought that, like I said, if you thought this is not what it was going to look like early, and I agree, it has not been good. It has not been good. It's not winning football. He's not an NFL level quarterback right now. I understand that. But if you thought he was whenever you drafted him, then it's just naivety. Like I don't know what else to tell you. Like, it was always going to look bad early on. But that's why they continued to preach he needed rep. Like, his base last week, the width of his base and where his front foot was on these throws, I mean, immensely better footwork in that Houston game. Like, you can see the growth happening. There's just a lot of things that are working. Like, if I'm not going to get into the completion percentage stuff because you can get into the drops and all that. You can also get into the offense, dude. The average depth of target for him this season is like 14 yards down the field. That is insane. And that lends itself to a very low completion percentage. Like, they're drawing these like long developing routes and they're asking him to launch this ball into, like, I mean, there were what, like 7 bombs within the first 2 drives?
First down.
Yeah, like, I mean, like the first 2 drives of the game, there were like 7 bombs that they had drawn up to throw. And most teams are taking like 3 to 4 of those in an entire game. And he had like 7 on the first 2 drives. Like, and those are super low completion passes. Like, those don't lend themselves to completions. Like, and like, if that's your game plan, cool, man. Like, yeah, exactly. Like 3 deep passes on drive 1. Like, if that's your game plan, it is what it is. But whenever it looks like 3 of 14 or 2 of 15 or whatever like that, because you're not giving him these layups, right? You're not just giving him these guys like CJ Stroud. How many times do we have to watch CJ Stroud throw to a wide open guy once again, like we do every time we play, right? Without Stephon Diggs, without Nico, these guys are wide. John Mechie, wide open. Brevin Jordan, wide open. Like Dalton Schultz, wide open. Like everybody's
Tank
wide
Dale.
open. Yeah, Tank Dell, wide open, wide open. Like they're not giving him these layup type of throws, right? Outside of the screen pass, which he completed, was one of his 2 completions in the first half. The other one was the big bomb to Josh Downs where the kid was wide open. But outside of those 2, I mean, like you're not giving him many layups. And so if you're sitting there and you're watching, like, I just don't know how you can watch that game, not see the growth, and say like it's like we're benching him based on field performance. Like I said, I would have respected it a whole lot more if they would have just came out and said, yes, this is due to the comments that he made. This is due to the actions of, tapping out on that 3rd down play. And we'll just leave it at that. This is a benching, hopefully it helps him mature and all this, and just leave it at that. Like, but to say that this benching is due to on-field performance and you're going to hold these guys accountable when they're not playing well, outside of like a few players on defense, like basically the defensive line, Josh Downs and Jonathan Taylor, nobody on that team played good. Nobody.
I agree. And that's going to definitely segue into, the post-game comment. Of course, we've just been talking about it, but we got to get our thoughts on it too with the Anthony Richardson whole entire thing. Of course, when we all heard it, it was like, there's no way he's trolling, right? Everyone was shocked. I mean, of course, being honest is a good thing, but certain times in this line of field, you can't be too honest because, of course, it got him penalized. I feel like we feel like personally him getting benched is due to the comments, but of course they're going to lay that over. They're professional liars. So, but my opinion on it is like, honestly, worst case scenario, I'm going to be honest. I feel like every game I'm looking at Anthony Richardson taking deep breaths every single game. Like I told you, he's 6'4", 240. Of course, you said you don't care, and I understand that. This guy is definitely winded. So, of course, we don't want any worst case scenario of, him either passing out or blacking out or anything like that. So, of course, for safety measures, he took himself out on one play. So like I said, I understood it, but it is a crazy comment to mention out there to the media because we know how the media can spin things of that nature. So it's the wrong publicity to have. And, like I said, it was crazy. But like I said, after that, he came back in and pretty much willed and dealed the way down the field. Like I said, he made some good throws and things like that. But like I said, in that moment, it was a crazy comment. What was your thoughts on the comment?
I mean, dude, like it can't happen, right? Like, I mean, it can't. And I put it out the other day, like, or it was yesterday. I guess like I was half joking. Like, it came off like I was joking. I was being dead serious. Like, dude, lie. Like for real, just freaking lie. Like you have to understand. And this is where I said, if this was part of the reason he was benched, I get it. I get it, right? He's 22 years old, but I don't think he truly understands the gravity of what it means to be a quarterback at the NFL level. You don't have, this isn't just about you, right? You have 52 other guys on that roster that are relying on you, the coaching staff relying on you, the front office, scouting department, all these guys. This all revolves around you, dude. Like, you hold these people's livelihoods in your hand. Like, if you don't work out, these guys don't have jobs. Like, and I just thought it was, I mean, it's a mistake, right? But then, like, there's the part of me that still realizes, like, dude, like, this kid's 22 years old. And to me, like, 22, like, that's a kid, right? You're a kid. Because I know what I was doing at 22 years old. And, it wasn't leading, an NFL franchise. Like I was doing stupid shit when I was 22 years old. And so, yeah, he's going to have some really immature, like as mature as he is for his age, he's still 22. Like he's going to say stupid stuff. He's like like one of the things I hate is whenever he lays there, like he's injured and then just pops back up and starts laughing. Like that's like, it drives me nuts. I think it's so stupid. And like, I know he's laughing and he thinks it's so funny. He's like, bro, like get up, get to the line. Let's get to the next play. Like, let's go. Like quit laying there. Like have some urgency. And that was the same thing as like these guys, like you're the lead. Like you are it. You are the leader. This is a game not for the faint of heart. Like regardless of what the rules change or anything like that, like these are gladiators on the field. These are guys giving up their bodies every play, every day in practice, every day in the weight room. They're away from their families. They're away from their kids. Like these are guys that are giving it their all every single play for you to succeed. These offensive linemen are there for you to succeed. These running backs, these wide receivers, they're there to help you, and you are there to help them. And you don't get to say, like, I'm tired, I'm checking myself out. Regardless of what anybody else, like, this is just me personally, like, regardless of what anybody else has said, like, personally, me, I have never seen that from an NFL quarterback. I've never seen that from any quarterback, not even at the high school level. Like, when we were in high school, like, I never had a quarterback ask out of the game. Like, if anything, you had to drag people off of the field. Like, you could be hurt, you could be injured. You've got to drag me off that field, bro. Like, I will die on that field. Like, there's no way I'm coming out. And so to see that at the NFL level, it was just extremely shocking. And then the post-game comments, like, where he was saying, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was tired. He was just kind of joking around and all that. Like, bro, lie. Like, I know he wears glasses. I know he's got contacts. Like, hey, like I got something in my contacts I couldn't see. I had to come out for a play. Or I saw the way he got tackled, on that run. It's like, yeah, I thought like I tweaked my foot or my knee or something. I just want to get it looked at for a play. I'm good. Lie. Like, but like your answer can't be, I'm tired. I needed a break. Like, because you set the standard, right? You're the quarterback. You set the standard for the organization and for the on-field play. And if that's the standard you set, it's not good enough. And that's where I said I understand if he's being benched for that. I get it. But they went out of their way to say that that wasn't the case. And so,
I think we all know
which,
that's the
which I
case.
don't buy. Yeah, like I don't buy one bit. I don't buy it one bit. And you can tell, and it's not just us because at the end of the day, look, it doesn't matter what I think about it. It doesn't matter what you think about it or anybody. It doesn't matter what Dan Orlovsky on ESPN or anybody, Rex Ryan, like it doesn't matter. I don't care what these guys think about it. Do you know what it does matter to? Guys like Ryan Kelly, guys like Shane Steichen, like the people in that locker room, Michael Pittman Jr., who's battling through a back injury where they were talking about him being on IR. Like, you don't think he's tired? Like, I mean, like he's out there literally giving it his all. Well, not his all, as we saw. Like, you can't make a play for your quarterback, but he's still out there, and that counts for something. It does. So yeah, like it can't happen. This has got to be a huge learning moment for him, right? Like as a kid, like that's why I said I don't think he truly understands the monumental position that he has been put in because he is just so young and so raw. I think he thinks like everything else in his life where he's just been so overly talented his entire life that he's been able to get by off of that talent. And don't get me wrong, he works hard, right? He goes out there and works. Like, it's not like he just coasts by. But this is a different level, man. Like this, I mean, you cannot take plays off. at the quarterback position. Other guys, I get it. And I get like the whole running quarterback thing too. Like you're not like most quarterback. That's what he said. I'm not like other guys. I run the ball better than anybody but Lamar, which I don't agree with that either. But I've never seen Lamar Jackson ask out of a game because he's tired. I've never seen Josh Allen. The closest comparison to him athletically is Cam Newton, right? Like Cam Newton, 250, 6'5", runs 4.4, 4.5 somewhere. I think he ran a 4.5. That's semantics. But I watched Cam Newton countless times. I mean, look like he's just about to die in the huddle, right? I mean, this dude's just gassed. And he gets right back up to the huddle and he calls the next play and it's game on. Matt Stafford, broken collarbone, broken whatever. Matt Stafford's had everything broken. Dude don't ever come out of a game. Kirk Cousins, we saw it just like a few weeks ago. Kirk Cousins gets planted. He's getting up. And I mean, like he looks like he's struggling, right? Gets back out there, game-winning drive. Like those are the type of guys you have to have at the quarterback position. And I don't know. I'm not saying that he can't become that. Yeah, Andrew Luck, we got to see, unfortunately, we got to see numerous times where Andrew Luck looked like he was about to get killed on the field.
And they lied to us about him too.
Yeah, and the Colts lied about that constantly as well. Yeah, he'll be fine. We're so excited for the season. Buy your season tickets now, everybody. Get ready for Andrew Luck.
You like collapsed lug.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy, oof, he took some shots. But like that's the mentality you've got to have. Like, I mean, and like like for you to come out and say like, oh, I can't go, I'm tired. Like I said, it doesn't matter what we think, but it matters to the guys in that locker room. And I think you heard that this week with some of the comments from the leaders. And they said, hey, we had conversations, we dealt with this internally. It is what it is. Hopefully he learns from it. It can't happen. And we move on from there. It seems like they're moving on in a completely bigger way. So yeah, oof, man, what a disaster.
Definitely a disaster. And that was Ryan Kelly. Definitely said we had a conversation about it. I think he knows that's not the standard. He's going to take some criticism for that, rightfully so. But if anyone ever questions how hard he plays, I don't think that's the case.
And that's Ryan Kelly for a guy like Ryan Kelly, like who's very measured in what he says, for him to speak out like that, like to the media about that kind of stuff, like that's basically Ryan Kelly's version of undressing him to the media. Like that's Ryan Kelly, like he's pissed, right? So yeah, it probably didn't go over well with a lot of guys in that locker room. So we'll see where we go from here. But man, this is the last 36 hours. This might be worse. Like the way that they've handled this might actually be on, and like this is going to get people going. This might be on par with the Jeff Saturday decision for me of how mishandled this is.
Yeah, you might be right. And when they brought in Jeff Saturday, they got him, Anthony Richardson. So I wonder what this move's going to get us. Is it going to get us a playoff berth, or I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Derby makes a good point too here, is whenever you make comments like that too, now it brings into question everything, right? Like not just are you tired? He makes a very good point. It's like it brings into like, could you have played with the oblique injury and you just didn't? Or the bruised knee in the Jacksonville game, in his first game last year. Like, could you have gone out? Like, why did you set out that play? Like it has the ability to draw every little thing into question about how tough this guy is, and is he willing to fight through adversity for his teammates?
What I would say, yes. Remember the game when he got hurt and they put in Flacco, and you seen Richardson wanted to go in, but the coaching staff didn't want to put him in. So I feel like this is more of an organizational thing, more so than Richardson.
Oh, I mean, I agree, but that's what I'm saying is like comments like that, like whereas before you could say that and have that be absolute fact. Now you do have people that can question that and you have validity to those questions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Before we just give our thoughts about the disaster game that we could have won, it's going to be short term because we pretty much briefed it in this ether. Um, Take notes if you don't know what ether means. But Stephen Holder said the decision explained to me. They said they want Richardson to take a step back, take a break from the pressures of the job, and try to grow during this time. That is obviously different from what was said previously, when the consensus was that he should learn and play on the job. They said a Colts team source on Anthony Richardson's demotion, per source, of course. They said, "We are not quitting on Anthony. That would be the story, but that is not the case." And then he said also, and if you're wondering, I was told Richardson was pretty devastated by the news, as you could expect, but he'll be a pro. No one is concerned about that part. So that just be interesting of the case scenario on Richardson. Uh, just the quick thoughts about the game. Like I said, it was a close one, despite everything that we've seen and heard. The game was still winnable for the Indianapolis Colts. And we do not win that game with Joe Flacco, the way they were sending those blitzes. We can literally start on the defensive side for the Houston Texans. And I think this is another thing that goes into your argument with the whole Anthony Richardson getting all the flack. I think a lot of people seem to forget that the Houston Texans is one of the best teams in the NFL, not only the AFC or the AFC South,
Well,
in the
defense,
NFL.
their offense is struggling pretty hard right now,
Correct.
but they're missing a lot of guys up there. But their defense, by any stretch of the imagination, is tough. Like it's tough.
And they had this was Devin White's debut, and I think he had a pretty solid game as well. But like I was saying, the defense was dialed in on what the Colts wanted to do. Like it wasn't um a lot of Anthony Richardson's part. I think it was poor game plan for the offensive side. Um like the drops and everything of that nature. But the QB play, like I said, the attempts was there. But what a defensive minded coach and D'Amico Ryans, what they was drawing up on the defensive side for the Houston Texans, all of that pressure that was added on Anthony Richardson, like the pressure rates, I think it gets thrown under the wind. And like I said, when this game was happening, I blame Landon for this loss because he had an engagement on Twitter about the additions of the Houston Texans of the offseason was Diggs and Daniel Hunter, and they pretty much showed up this game. So what was your thoughts about, besides your Twitter engagements with the new additions of the Texans, but what was your thoughts about the Houston Texans defense against the Colts offense?
Yeah, well, I mean, they did what every team would probably look to do right now, and that's load up the box, send pressure, stop the run game, and basically force Anthony Richardson to either read pre-snap where he's hot, which he has struggled with, or you know make a throw one-on-one and live with a contested catch. And the Colts didn't make those plays. They didn't. The receivers didn't make the plays. Richardson didn't make the plays. The one thing you couldn't do in this game was exactly what he did, right? That lost them, to me, like that lost them the game. I'm not necessarily sure that Joe Flacco makes that play. And I actually disagree. I think if Joe Flacco plays, I think they probably find a way to win this game. I really do. And that's not a knock on Anthony Richardson because I don't think he played bad. But I just think with the way the Texans attacked Anthony Richardson, I don't think you could attack Joe Flacco the same way. If you just send zero and hot every time, he's going to recognize that pre-snap and he's going to get the ball out quick. And it's going to go to Josh Downs or some of these other guys quickly. And the pressure is probably not going to be as intense. Whereas Richardson, I think some of that pressure that is on him and some of the past breakups occurred just due to the inexperience, right? Like, I mean, he's not getting through the progressions fast enough, and that's letting defenders and secondary guys get back into the plays. He's not throwing with anticipation. It's like he doesn't trust what he's seen yet, and those are normal things for young guys. Like that's normal. That's what I'm saying is like those are the growing pains you had to know that you were going to live with whenever you drafted him. And then especially with him getting hurt last year, like, because now you're going into this year as like de facto, I guess technically his rookie year, even though it's not. And I understand that he has advantages that rookies don't because of the system and the verbiage and him being in the building and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, on field, this is his rookie year, and he's seeing a lot of live bullets that he's never seen. And so, yeah, like it's hard for young guys to come into that situation and just immediately succeed. Like what's happening in Washington, like that's not normal, dude. Like what Jane Daniels is doing. And Jane Daniels has played a lot of football, like a lot. He was a fifth year senior
For
like
multiple teams, yeah.
yeah, like he's played a lot of football. Um, Bo Nix, same thing. Bo Nix is playing really good here the last few weeks in Denver. Played a lot of football. Like this guy's, I mean, these guys are like, well, Jaden Daniels, I think, is 23, right? But like Bo Nix is like what, 25? Like, like these guys have played a lot of football. Richardson hasn't, and you drafted him knowing that, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, like of course he was going to struggle with that kind of stuff, and he's going to continue to struggle with that until eventually he has enough reps in game to where he sees this stuff consistently on a weekly basis, and the game starts to hopefully, it either will or it won't. It'll work its way out one way or another, but the game hopefully slows down for him because he can sit back there, maybe next year going against Houston, and he could say, I've seen this twice. Like I know what this look is. I know what they're doing. I know last year when I seen this, they brought pressure from this side. I know I'm hot here and I need to get the ball out quickly here. And then he makes that pre-snap read, and this isn't an issue. And the pressure is completely negligible, and it doesn't matter. But if he's not on the field to get those reps, none of that matters. None of it matters. And we're in the same situation. I'm sorry, I'm getting right back into what we were talking about earlier. So, yeah, I do think they probably win that game with Flacco. Richardson did the cardinal sin, but I also think that's on coaching as well, because after the throw, before, the pick at the end of the half, almost threw a pick. Once again, Michael Pittman Jr. slipped.
Oh God,
Not,
that
yeah,
drive
like,
right
I mean,
there had me livid.
it is what it is. But I think at that point, I think that's where coaching needs to, like, you can't keep coddling like the kid. Like eventually, like, you got to quit being his friend and forcing this kind of stuff. Like that's where I think the coaching and Shane Steichen needs to step in and say, hey, we almost threw a pick there. It's 3rd and 3. We can't afford a turnover here. It's 3rd and 3. Let's get the ball to 28. Either he picks up the first down or he gets us a little bit closer. We punt the ball and we get the ball back to start the second half. Let's just live to fight another day instead of trying to force Anthony Richardson out there to make some of these throws that he has kind of struggled with. Like, I mean, it's just not there. So I think that's where the coaching needs to step in and kind of like, hey, protect the kid from himself. Like he should have never been in the situation to make that throw in the first place. And that's a failure on coaching, and that's a failure to your young quarterback. You're failing it.
I agree 100%. That whole drive, you just knew there was an interception coming. Like I said, the first one when Pittman slipped, it was like, ooh. And then the second one is like they just rushed it, and it was like a nonchalant throw right into Petrie's hands. That's just something
Well,
like
he didn't realize. I don't know if he just didn't see him there, but on that throw, it was like that inverted hang, which me and Cole's film room, and there's like we hate that stuff. Like that's a terrible play. Like just throw that out of your playbook. Get it out. It doesn't work. Unless you're like against Tampa too, which the league doesn't even run mostly anymore. But I don't know if he just didn't see Petrie like still in because normally what you would hope for is in Petrie's position, you just hope that he drifts further out, and you're able to fit that ball into the window in anticipation. Well, he didn't throw with anticipation. Pedro didn't drift on the route. He sat on it. And as soon as that ball's thrown, boom, you're there, and that's the result of it. So, it's just a disaster all the way around. It can't happen. Those are the plays that lose you games. That game was lost on that play because the Colts never had the lead again. From the moment that play happened, never had the lead again. And those are the plays that lose you games. And that can't happen. But once again, it's a learning like you knew this when you drafted it. And if you didn't know it, then you got to fire everybody. Fire everybody.
I agree. Shout out to the reliable sources and Josh Downs and Jonathan Taylor. Like I said, Jonathan Taylor had a very great game. Like you can see, he wanted to win. His will to win is undeniable.
Why do you pay Jonathan Taylor that amount of money and you don't just lean on it? Like, dude, that's what he's there for. Like, lean on Jonathan Taylor right now. Like, that is your best chance of develop. Like, what did we hear all offseason was how excited we are to finally have the pairing of Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson together. There is no way in hell Anthony Richardson should have 35 to 40 passing attempts a game. There's just no way. It's stupid. It's negligence, and that's where they're found. And if you're having 35 passing plays a game and 25 of those passes are 15 yards and beyond the sticks, like, what are we doing here? Like, what? Like I get the aspect of, like, that's what Houston forced them to do, right? That's what Houston basically, they let Houston's defense dictate what they did offensively instead of offensively adjusting and dictating what Houston's defense did. And that's where great coaches and good coaches are a difference. D'Amico Ryans is a great coach. He had Shane Steichen eating out of the palm of his hands. Shane Steichen did whatever D'Amico Ryans wanted him to do on Sunday. And he played right into it.
Absolutely did. And, that separates the greats, man. It really does. So, shout out to D'Amico Ryans, man. They rolling. Hopefully they can keep it going. Before we get up out of here, we got to talk about this defense, man. Like, we got to give them some slack, honestly. I feel like we got to give the defense some slack. They tried their best.
We got to give some guys on defense some slack.
Yeah, some of them. We got to give a shout out to DeForest Buckner for sure. DeForest Buckner's his return definitely was granted. We seen the presence, felt it, and his impact was noticeable. Got him a sack, got some pressures, opened up the line for some others.
Led the NFL in pressures this week.
Absolutely did. He was a dog, man. Definitely was a dog. Give a shout out to Kenny Moore, man. Kenny Moore was definitely a game changer. Definitely. Shout out to Kenny Moore, too, man. I feel like Kenny Moore has some good plays.
Dio Dangbo, bro. We got to talk about Dio. What a game.
He should have scored. Was it a touchdown or not?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, fine. All right, I resent.
But just from seeing a big man rumble into the end, it should have been. They should just let it go. But
that's what I'm saying. But we was in Houston.
They had the right call. Joe Mixon pushed him. He threw him to the ground after he technically had control. So it is what it is. But it would have been fun.
That's true. Yeah. Shout out to Dio and DeForest, man. Kenny Moore as well. Those guys definitely stepped up this week. Womack had a very quiet game. Jalen Jones had some good breakups too. Jalen Jones, of course, there were some plays when, he's scrappy. He's a scrappy corner.
Yeah, he didn't have a bad game at all.
I definitely think he had a good game for sure. We got to talk about, the linebackers.
We need to have conversations soon.
Yeah, no. But it's about to change. They just signed the GOAT. Back.
Ronnie Harrison?
Yes, absolutely. That's my GOAT. If you want a linebacker in coverage,
I thought Grant Stewart was your GOAT.
He is, but in coverage, Ronnie Harrison.
It's not even in I'm talking about everything. The tackling, the coverage,
He does it all, man.
It
Like,
ain't,
because
it
he's a
ain't good,
former
bro.
safety, so he knows. Like, he's a
Well,
dog.
maybe Harrison, but what
Yeah,
they
but
got rolling out there right now, bro, it ain't
yeah, we
good.
can talk about it right now. Actually, it was abysmal, and
I
this
know
is going
we're
back
an
to the
hour
offensive
in,
mindset.
so. But what I'm saying is like, so, like if it doesn't change soon, there's some tough conversations that need to be had about some guys in that linebacker room.
Sir, are you telling them to put down the mic and pick up a video?
Almost. What look, man, I get like I've never been one to like talk about like guys' hobbies, right? You gotta have time outside of like if it's 2 hours a week, like come on, like you do whatever you want. But man, you can't be online. Like think of how much shit they talked to Houston and CJ Stroud this season, and you got swept. You got swept, and Joe Mixon made you look.
I was about to mention him.
Joe Mixon made you look like something. Like I'm not
He's
gonna
the
say it,
Andrew Luck of the Titans.
but bro, he made you look bad. So like you can't be running your mouth after that. Like, you
And the run defense is still a glaring issue, in my opinion.
it is.
Of course, the linebackers in coverage is really bad, but the run defense, I thought it
Missed
would have been
tackles,
a little better. It's still an issue.
guys out of position, guys not making plays, missed tackles. It ain't good. It ain't good. That's what I'm
It's
saying.
not,
Like
and I feel like
can't be
that's
good.
going to
You can't
be
be
the
getting
one
online
deciding
and running
factor.
your mouth, which that's exactly what I'm doing. Is I'm online running my mouth, and I'm not out there playing. So I get it. But I mean, if you are going to be online talking your talk, like you got to put it on the field, bro. Like you got to put it on film.
They definitely
Showing
had some bright spots. Not the linebackers, but the defense. They had some bright spots, but like I said, they were on the field way too
Ed
often.
Cross has had a rough couple weeks too. It's been
Yeah.
rough. He's learning. But he's another guy, man. He's what, 23? 22, 23 years old?
Finally got his moment. Finally got his moment. Like,
Yeah, for the
he's
most part, it's
expected to
still
have some
positive.
bad games.
Yeah, he's gonna have ups and downs. He had a rough game this week. You know what you should do? You should bench him. Bench him. That's what you
That's the
accountability.
answer to everything.
Yeah. Accountability. Right.
Is
Based
there
on
any chance we
on-field
see Jason
performance.
Bean play soon?
Zero. Well, injury. Injury. That's what I'm curious about. Is like, that's what I'm so curious about this week. Because if you are going to go this route, do you make Anthony Richardson inactive? Or is he the backup? Like, is Richardson inactive at all? Or is he the backup?
He's the backup per depth chart, but he's going to be holding a clipboard.
Maybe.
So
We'll see.
that
But
is
they just
interesting.
brought, that's what I'm saying, is they just brought Jason Bean up to the
The
practice.
GOAT.
Yeah, like, I mean, did they sign him to the active roster? Or is it?
I think he's practice squad. I can check.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, you don't, like, why would you sign a quarterback to the practice squad? Unless you're going to make a guy inactive.
Yeah, he's on a practice squad.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Are you
Beans
bringing
on the practice squad, Trey Flowers, and Evan Hall. They got rid of Kelvin Joseph. I don't know why they got him anyway.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, it's just a curious move after the news. So, yeah, wow.
Yeah, they actually cheered for that. It's kind of crazy.
That's what I'm saying. It's another thing. The last thing I want to do is emulate what the Browns are doing at quarterback. Like, I want to do the exact opposite of what the Browns do.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting week, man.
Jameis is. I love Jameis. I call him Flamus. Love
He went to
Jameis.
Florida State. We don't rep that.
And guess what? He's going to be your quarterback next year. So, y'all hope you're ready.
Bridge quarterback.
Yeah.
No franchise.
Yeah.
It's
Then we
still in the
what? We get
quarterback
Matt,
carousel.
how old's Matthew Stafford? Was he 36, 37? Well, we get
That
him in
train has left the station.
2026, Matt Stafford.
Oh yeah, we're
We
gonna
get
get
Justin
him.
Fields
Then
in
we're gonna get
2028.
Dak Prescott.
Yeah, Dax probably coming up soon. Whenever he hits about 40, he'll be here.
Then we'll get Justin Fields finally.
Yeah, Justin Fields in what, 2030?
There's no
he'll
need
be
to draft.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Just
The
always
QB
remember,
carousel continues.
yeah, Chris Ballard, baby. One quarterback away. We're one veteran quarterback away from 9 wins. That's where we want
We're
to be.
gonna upgrade from 8 wins to 9.
Yeah, that's where we want to be at every year.
That's the mindset. Winning is the motto. If that was the case, you wouldn't have started
Here's the
Richardson
thing.
at
This
all
is
this
what we
year.
do all the time. I've been told it numerous times. Teams 9-8, 8-8, 9-8, blah 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 blah. Hey, he only has 2 losing records in 8 years, right? So
Yeah.
like those 9 wins, like that's not a losing record, bro. Hey, Irsay tweeted about Will Levis the second night of the draft about doubling up on quarterback. Will Levis could be your quarterback.
Now that would be a good debate to watch. Richardson and Levis in the same backfield. Now, I wouldn't mind if Richardson would sit and watch both of them.
I'd rather die in a car crash. If that, like, I'm telling you right now, if that happens, done. I'm done.
Well, fans are already leaving.
Dude, yeah, I'll say I'm close to being done right now. Like, basically, like I am. I have no interest outside of doing this show. I have no interest in watching the rest of this year. It means nothing. It's done. This year's done. But yeah, if we bring in another bridge quarterback or like a Will Levis thing happens or something like, bro, I'm checking out. Every bit of this room is going to be green and gold. I'm done.
You gonna paint it yourself?
I will paint him out. Yeah, we're going straight up. We're living on the edge here. Jesus, I can't. We're Green Bay Packers.
You guys donate some paint to Landon so he can have it on standby.
Done. Everything you see will be yellow and green.
Oh my goodness, man. What an episode. It was a stressful one, but hopefully the Colts can find a way.
I have a feeling this is just the start.
Oh, this is nothing. Wait till next Tuesday, because I'm going to be smiling the whole time. I ain't even going to tell you. I'm going to wait for a preview. But but I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on all platforms. Huh?
Hey, you remember what happened the last time the Colts played the Vikings on primetime TV?
Oh, yeah. It was a record. It was a history. History was made.
Broke history, man.
Oh, yeah.
After a very rash decision was made. Right after. Around the same time, too. I believe it was week 8. Let me see.
How many curses do the Colts have?
1.
I should
look
at
1 curse.
1? I feel like it's more than 1 at this point.
They have 1 big old curse running the whole damn organization.
Oh, gosh. We're going to light a candle tonight. Everyone, peace and salutations. Let's just breathe, finish the week.
Woosah.
We'll worry about the rest. Woosah. Woosah, everyone. It's going to be okay. I'm lying. But be sure to stay tuned. Be sure to stay tuned on Friday. We'll be back to preview the Vikings versus the Colts. Should be an interesting one. We got to change the whole game plan and mindset. But you guys stay tuned. Yeah.
It'll probably be Thursday, but me and Colts film room, we'll probably do a spaces this week. So.
I like that. So you guys definitely tune in for that. Be sure to follow them on Twitter to stay notified when they drop it. But we appreciate you guys. Follow us on all platforms. We're everywhere. That's Landon. This is Marcus. And until next time, peace be with you.